country. What kind of boat do you have? Let's get down to the boating. It's a small boat. It's a 27-foot Ranger. In my life, I've had let's see what I've had as a boater. I started in Hawaii with a 27-foot wooden sailboat with no engine. All I had on it was a Seagull outboard. That was a rough boat to take a heavy little wooden sailboat. Then when I got to California a few years later, when I saved enough money, I bought a 26-foot Carver, which had a single engine on it. Then I bought a 38-foot Bayliner, which had twin Hino diesels. Again, it was a flat frisbee kind of boat, very hard to handle on the bay in a wind, very hard to dock. But I really made my sailing, my boating bones on that twin engine Bayliner because it had no keel, and with twin engines, it still didn't help. It would blow around in the wind like a frisbee. And I remember once I was coming back in the dock with around 10 people on it, and my port engine failed. It just quit. I had one shot at making the dock, and I knew if I didn't do it right, we're gonna have to call the Coast Guard. And I was so proud of myself. All 10 people applauded. I made the turn. We landed on the dock. All the boys jumped off and tied us off. I had a great mechanic who came over the next day, and it's a rough deal to get the engine out of there. There's no hatch to remove the engine. But he was such a good mechanic. He went down below, and Eddie, a real Eddie, a great Eddie. Haven't kept in touch with him. He was from Delta Marine, I believe, out in the basin. And he went down below with some jacks. He jacked the engine up and hoisted it out alone. Would you believe this? That's the Eddie that the Democrats and the Republican snot-noses hate. The people who can actually do something with their hands. Well, let's see. I got rid of that boat, and years later, this camera keeps falling down. Sorry. I remember I graduated in 2002 to the biggest boat of my life. It was a dream boat. It was a 42-foot Grand Banks. Now that was a boat, heavy boat, deep keel, big twin diesels. That thing was a dream to handle on the bay in any wind. But like anything else, you get to know your way around. That wasn't really enough for me to go out to sea because it had no bow thruster, no stern thruster. It had mainly no stabilizers. And if you go out in the ocean, you must have stabilizers. At least you do today. I mean, you didn't need it in the old days. But when you hit rollers, you don't want that boat to be rolling around. That was a beautiful boat. Then, speaking of my boating days, I graduated to a 59-foot Grand Banks, a GB 59 Europa, the greatest boat I ever drove in my life. That boat was beautiful. 2 1,100 horsepower engines, Caterpillar diesels. I took it anywhere, took it out into the ocean, loved it. And it's when Teddy was still a baby on all of these boats. And he's back at the house, by the way. He's not out with me because he's got vestibular disorder. I'm afraid he'll fall off the boat. But he remembers the days of going out. He wanted to come with me just now. I said, no, Teddy, stay home till the barbecue. You'll get a piece of steak later. So we went out on that boat many a time, and I enjoyed that a lot.